don't even realize they're living inside a box. Not a physical one, but a mental one, a belief system, a way of thinking that runs their entire life. That box has a name. It's called a paradigm. And before you can ever change your life, before you attract more wealth, deeper love, better health, you have to identify the paradigm that's been blocking you all this time. Think about this. How many times have you set a goal, maybe to start a new business, lose weight, learn a skill, and within a few weeks you stop? You find an excuse. Something comes up. You procrastinate. And in your heart, you know you wanted it. So why does it keep happening? That's your paradigm in action. It's not just a bad habit. It's a deeply rooted mental program that runs automatically, code running a machine. You were not born with these limitations. You inherited them from your parents, your environment, your culture. Things you saw and heard over and over as a child became hardwired into your subconscious mind. Money doesn't grow on trees. Be realistic. People like us don't do things like that. These statements may have sounded harmless, but they formed a program, and that program became your invisible ceiling. So the very first step to shifting your toughest paradigm is awareness. You've got to stop and become brutally honest with yourself. What is the belief that keeps showing up in your life and sabotaging your progress? Is it, I'm not good enough? Is it, I always fail? Is it, success is for others, not me? This belief will often disguise itself in your actions, or better said, your inaction. It whispers, why try? You won't make it anyway. And the more you listen, the more power it gains. But the truth is, you are not your paradigm. You're just living through it. And the moment you can step back and observe it, you're already beginning to separate from it. That's power. When you observe a thought, instead of becoming the thought, you shift from being controlled to being in control. Start paying attention to your emotional triggers. What situations make you shrink? What thoughts make you hesitate? That's where your paradigm is most active. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Bring it from the shadows into the light. Because once you name it, you can tame it. No one ever changed their life by running from the truth. And the truth is, the toughest paradigm in your life only exists because you've believed in it for too long. Not because it's true, because it's familiar. And if you can identify it, you can dismantle it. Once you've identified the paradigm, that hidden belief that's been running the show, the next step is to replace it. Here's where most people go wrong. They try to change it once, maybe twice, and expect everything to shift. But a paradigm is like a deep groove in your subconscious mind, carved out over years. You can't just scratch the surface and expect transformation. You have to go deep. And the only way to do that is through repetition. Repetition is how the paradigm was built in the first place. Think about it. You didn't hear that limiting belief once. You heard it again and again. You saw it in action. It became normal. So to break that cycle, you have to introduce something new, not just once, but over and over until that new idea becomes the new normal. It starts with a clear, emotionally charged affirmation, not just empty words, but a truth you choose to believe even before you feel ready. If your paradigm says, I'm not worthy of success, then your new statement might be, I am worthy of abundance in all forms. And you repeat it, not just once a day. You write it down. You speak it out loud. You feel it in your body. Morning, night, again and again. You do it until it feels uncomfortable. And then you keep doing it until it feels natural. This is not about tricking your brain. This is about training it. You are literally rewiring your subconscious mind, a process that takes emotional energy, consistency, and most importantly, faith. Because in the beginning, your old paradigm will resist. It'll say, this is stupid, or you're lying to yourself. That's not a sign to stop. That's proof that you're hitting the exact wall you're meant to break through. Remember, subconscious doesn't respond to logic. It responds to emotionalized repetition. That means you have to tie feeling to the words. Don't just say, I am confident. Say it while standing tall. Breathe like someone who owns the room. Speak like someone who knows they belong. The mind follows the body, and the body follows repetition. It's a loop, and you're in control of it now. It helps to keep your affirmations in front of you on mirrors, phones, journals. The more you see them, the more your subconscious accepts them. You're not brainwashing yourself. You're cleansing the old program and installing a new one. Think of repetition as spiritual muscle building. You wouldn't expect to lift a heavy weight at the gym once and walk out with a new body. You train day by day, and over time, you become stronger than the pattern that once held you back. The paradigm won't vanish overnight, but the more you feed the new belief, the less power the old one holds. It fades, it weakens, and eventually it dies. And that's when change starts to become automatic, not forced, but natural, not a struggle, a shift. Repetition is the bridge between knowing something and becoming it. Walk that bridge every day. You've done the inner work. You've identified the paradigm, and you've started reprogramming it through repetition. But if you're still surrounding yourself with the same people, the same energy, the same mindset that created that paradigm in the first place, it's going to pull you right back in. The truth is you become the average of the voices you hear the most. Not just your own thoughts, the people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, the attitudes you're exposed to daily. Energy is contagious, and mindsets are no different. If you're trying to build a mindset of abundance, but you're surrounded by people constantly complaining about lack, about struggle, about how nothing ever works, you're fighting an uphill battle. Every time you take one step forward in your thinking, that energy pulls you 2 steps back. And it's not always malicious. Sometimes it's subtle, quiet comments. Doubts disguised as concern. Are you sure that's realistic? Don't get your hopes up. Just play it safe. That's not support. That's your old paradigm. Wearing the mask of a friend, a family member, or even a colleague. You don't have to cut people out of your life, but you do have to protect your mental space like your future depends on it. Because it does. Start spending time with people who think big, people who talk about possibilities instead of limitations, people who are moving towards something, not running from something. Even if you don't have those people in your personal circle right now, they're out there in books, in podcasts, in videos, in communities. Find them. Immerse yourself in that frequency. Because when you're surrounded by people who believe in growth, in change, in personal evolution, something shifts inside you. You stop asking, can I do this? And you start thinking, how far can I take this? You need to hear success talked about like it's normal, because it is. You need to hear people say, of course you can, and mean it. Not out of flattery, but from their own experience of growth. That's when belief multiplies. That's when your paradigm starts to feel less like a cage and more like something you've already outgrown. Sometimes the fastest way to shift a paradigm is simply to expose it to a new standard. When you see someone living the life you once thought was impossible, and you get close enough to realize they're not that different from you, it disrupts the lie. It rewrites the limit. This is why community matters. This is why mentorship matters. Because being in the right environment doesn't just inspire you. It holds you accountable to a higher version of yourself. You stop shrinking. You start expanding. And slowly but surely, the old paradigm starts to lose its grip, not just because of what you're doing on the inside, but because of what you're no longer allowing on the outside. Surround yourself with energy that makes your next level feel like home. Logic will only take you so far. You can know all the right things to say, all the affirmations to repeat, all the strategies to follow, but if you don't feel it, it won't stick. Paradigms aren't just mental programs, they're emotional anchors. They're tied to feelings that have been stored in your nervous system for years. That's why you can speak a new belief 100 times, but if you speak it without emotion, it doesn't penetrate the subconscious. It bounces right off. The subconscious responds to feeling, always has, always will. So when it comes to shifting your toughest paradigms, one of the most important strategies is to infuse emotion into the new belief, and not just any emotion. The kind that vibrates through your body, the kind you can feel in your chest, your stomach, breath. When you can connect your new belief to that emotional energy, it stops being an idea and starts becoming your truth. Think back to the most defining moments in your life, good or bad. What made them unforgettable wasn't the event. It was the emotion attached to it. The joy, the fear, the pride, the pain. That's what burned it into your subconscious. That's how paradigms are formed. So now to rewrite them, you have to reverse engineer that same process. You must create new emotional experiences around your new identity. That's why visualization is powerful, but only if you feel it. Don't just see yourself successful. Feel the pride of achievement. Don't just imagine abundance. Feel the freedom of having options. Feel the peace of being aligned with your purpose. Let it run through your body like it's happening now, because in your subconscious mind, there's no difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined with emotion. And when you experience that new state over and over again, you create emotional memories before the actual event even occurs. That's how you pull the future into the now. This is also why gratitude is such a powerful amplifier. When you express gratitude for something you're programming into your paradigm, even before it fully arrives, you're locking that belief in with the highest emotional frequency possible. Gratitude tells the subconscious, this is already mine. It removes resistance. It activates receivership. So ask yourself, what emotion have I been feeding my paradigm? Fear. doubt, insecurity. That's what's been fueling it. Then it's no wonder it feels so hard to change. But if you flip that energy and start feeding your new belief with excitement, confidence, love, certainty, you create a new energetic path. You don't need more information. You need more feeling behind what you already know. Speak your new identity with fire, fire. Move with the energy of belief. Train your body to match the vibration of the life you're claiming. Because when emotion and repetition come together, the paradigm has no choice but to shift. When the feeling becomes real, the belief becomes unshakable. There comes a point in every paradigm shift where you have to do more than just think differently. You have to act differently. You can visualize, affirm, and repeat all the right things, but if your behavior never changes, your paradigm remains untouched. Because the real test is not what you believe when it's easy. It's what you do when your old self is triggered. Paradigms are habits in motion, and the only way to override a habit is to take opposite action, even when it feels unnatural, especially when it feels unnatural, that discomfort. That's the edge of your old identity. That's the resistance point where transformation begins. Let's say your old paradigm says, stay quiet, play small, don't speak up. The moment you walk into a room and feel the urge to shrink, that's the moment to do the opposite. Speak up, take up space, lean into the discomfort. Because what you're really doing in that moment is proving your old program wrong. You're creating a new response to an old situation. And every time you do that, you weaken the old circuit. Or maybe your paradigm says you're not consistent. You always quit. So today, when you feel like skipping the work, don't. Show up anyway. Even if it's small, even if it's messy. Because now your action isn't just a task, it's a declaration, this is who I am now. Action is the fastest way to interrupt the loop of self-doubt. Thinking can keep you stuck in analysis. Action, even imperfect action, sends a shockwave through the subconscious. It says, this belief no longer runs me. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes the most powerful shifts come from tiny daily defiance, going for that walk when you want to stay in bed, reaching out when you want to isolate, asking for what you want instead of settling. One brave move at a time, you start sending a new message to your mind. I choose growth. I choose courage. I choose forward. And don't wait to feel ready. That's another trap. Paradigms survive by convincing you to wait for the right time, the right feeling, the right circumstances. But the shift happens the moment you act in spite of that. That's what real power looks like. Not the absence of fear, but the ability to move anyway. The more you move in alignment with your new belief, the more your subconscious catches up. It starts to say, oh, maybe this is who we are now. And over time, it rewrites the story. So every time your old paradigm whispers, you can't, do the opposite and show it that you can. That's how patterns break. That's how identities shift, not by talking about it, by walking through it. Opposite action is the hammer that cracks the code. Your mind doesn't know the difference between something that's vividly imagined and something that's real. That's the secret to transformation most people ignore. Keep reacting to what is instead of creating from what could be. But the mind is a projector, not a mirror. It doesn't just reflect your life. It shapes it. And if you want to shift your paradigm, you have to start using your imagination on purpose. Most people use their imagination to worry, to replay old mistakes, to stress over things that haven't even happened. That's imagination just used in reverse. But what happens when you flip the switch and start visualizing a new identity, a new reality, not just once, but every single day? That's when your internal world starts to override your external world. Paradigms are rooted in repetition and emotion, but they are also deeply influenced by image. The picture you hold in your mind becomes the blueprint your subconscious follows. And if that image doesn't change, the results in your life won't either, no matter how much effort you apply. So every morning, before the noise of the world floods in, close your eyes and step into your future self. See it clearly. Where are you living? How do you walk? What energy do you bring into a room? What kind of conversations are you having? What kind of decisions are you making? The more detailed the image, the more your mind begins to accept it as truth. This isn't fantasy. This is mental rehearsal. It's how athletes win championships before the game. It's how leaders lead before they ever get the title. They see it first, and then they step into it. Can't wait until your life changes to believe something new. You believe it first, and then life catches up. The key is consistency. You can't visualize once and expect a breakthrough. You need to make it a ritual, twice a day, just 5 minutes in the morning, 5 at night. Feed your mind the image of who you're becoming. And here's the part most people missy feel it. Don't just see it, Feel the confidence, the peace, the excitement. Let that feeling sink into your nervous system. And soon you'll start noticing something strange. You start behaving differently, speaking differently, making choices your old self would have never made. Not because you're trying, but because your subconscious is catching up to the picture you've been feeding it. This is how you recondition the mind. This is how you shift from effort to embodiment. When you visualize with emotion, you're not just daydreaming. You're rehearsing your future into the present.